Who are you when no one is watching? When you're the only one who knows whether you're truly living in alignment with what you say matters. See, that's the real test of living by your standards and the role of accountability in living by them. Well, see, most people think accountability is pressure or feels like pressure, or it's something that only shows up when something goes wrong. But real accountability, it's empowering. It's about integrity. If you're new here, I am Chris O, the host of PS Know Yourself, and this is part 7 of Living by Your Standards series. And we're getting into the role of accountability in living by your standards. See, it's how you start to build trust with yourself. It's how you build self-respect. And it's how you become the person you say you are and not just a version you hope to when it's convenient or when people are watching. And if you've been here for a while, maybe you remember in a previous episode, we talked about clarity and how sometimes clarity gives you that final knowing of your truth, but it doesn't feel peaceful. Sometimes it feels heavy, that knowing, and it's complicated or even messy. And like clarity was never the end of the road, it was just the beginning. And in this episode, we're going to walk through what it's really at stake when we don't hold ourselves accountable and the quiet, often invisible cost of drifting away from our own personal standards. So, you ready? Let's get into it. The first cost that starts to drift away from not taking accountability is the cost of self-trust. What I mean by this is that every time you start to let yourself off the hook, even if it's in the smallest way, you start to chip away at your own self-trust. And over time, that doesn't just erode your self-confidence, it really begins to break down your internal locus of control. And in psychology, what this means is the sense of deep belief that you have the ability to direct your actions, your choices, and the decisions that start to shape your outcomes, basically the life that you want to create for yourself, that you believe you have control over that. And when that belief starts to weaken, you begin to start questioning your own agency and say things like, does anything I do even matter? Am I actually someone who follows through? Does any of this even matter? Is it having any impact? You might not realize it at first, but you slowly start living passively and responding to whatever's happening around you instead of creating what's genuinely, truly aligned with what your values are, what aligns with your personal values. And when self-trust starts to erode, it's not just harder to take action, it becomes harder to believe that your actions actually matter. Because if you keep proving to yourself that your own word isn't solid, why would you believe yourself next time? Does that resonate? You see, that's what makes accountability so essential, I believe, in living by your standards. You can't say you're living by your standards if you don't take any accountability in how you show up in every aspect of your life. It's the decision to stop passively absorbing everything around you, the noise, the expectations, the opinions, and start living from a place rooted deep in your own self-trust and integrity. And number 2, the cost that you will experience if you don't take accountability to live by your standards is identity costs, the cost of your identity. See, if clarity shows you who you want to be, how you want to live by your standards, accountability is how you become that version of yourself. And sometimes the hardest part of that journey is realizing the gap between what we say we value and how we are actually showing up and living by them. I want to share an example with you. A woman who took my Living by Your Standards mini course last year, said something really, really powerful with me uh, that makes this point right here that I want to share it with you. I'll put it up here. And she said, this journey forced me to scrutinize my morals and my values, assessing whether my actions truly mirrored my beliefs. I had to ask, do I actually believe in this value if my actions are not backing it up? Ooh, that was radical honesty. That was her identity at stake. Because when your behavior doesn't reflect what you say actually matters to you, you don't just feel disconnected from yourself. Let's be honest, it's a form of self-betrayal. Not because you don't care, but because sometimes the fear of trusting yourself is louder than the trust you've actually built with yourself. I want to repeat that. The fear of trusting yourself is louder than the trust you've actually built within yourself. Does that resonate? And the longer that disconnection goes unaddressed, the easier it will become for external voices, opinions, or expectations that start to dictate your direction. It's like you're being pushed in a way that wasn't truly aligned with you, instead of guiding yourself in the direction that's truly aligned with your personal values. That's why I say accountability isn't about punishment, and it's not just about discipline either to achieve something. It's about integrity. It's really about that. Integrity, becoming someone you can trust, not just because it's easy, but when it's inconvenient. And lastly, number 3, what is at cost is your personal power, your agency. Here's something we don't talk about often. When you don't hold yourself accountable, when you keep postponing what you said mattered, you slowly start giving away your power. Not in some big dramatic way, but in a way you begin to wait for things to change. You know, like the government to come help you, instead of being the one who changes them, waiting for the right guy to come. It's subtle. You start saying things like, tell me below, comment below if any of what I'm about to share is something you've heard before, or maybe you've said it. You start saying things like, it's just not the right time. Maybe they need to change first. They were the one in the wrong. But what's actually happening here is this. You start believing that your own actions can make a difference, that your choices matter, that you have the ability to direct your own life. And once that belief starts to fade, you start living from a place of reaction rather than co-creation with the universe. See, that's the power cost. And it's not just about losing momentum and achieving something, but it's losing your connection again to your own agency, to that quiet confidence that says, even when it's hard, even when it's slow, I know I can shift things. I can take accountability. And that's how you keep that personal power alive. Because accountability isn't just about hitting goals or sticking to plans or achieving something. I know a lot of the narrative of accountability is associated with that. But it's about how you show up, as I said earlier in this video, about how you show up in every part of your life, in your relationships, in your communication, in the way you respond to discomfort, disappointment, or uncertainty, and even with the relationship with yourself. again, when nobody is watching. So often, when something feels off or breaks down, our first instinct is to look outward. I mean, I've been there. We want to blame it on something else. We think it's the excuse of X, Y, and Z, and we say things like, they didn't meet our needs. The timing wasn't right. If they had shown up differently, things would be different. Again, does any of that sound familiar? And certainly it's things that I have said in the past too. And maybe those things are true to some extent, but accountability asks us a deeper question. Rather than looking outward, again, it's looking inward, questioning ourselves in a challenging way. How did I contribute to this dynamic? Where did I stay silent when I needed to speak up? Where did I abandon myself to avoid rocking the boat? These are just some examples of how the accountability mindset shifts from projecting outward to reflecting inward. Accountability isn't about blame, it's about self respect. It's about choosing yourself clearly, not to shame yourself, but to reclaim your personal power. And on that note, now I want to dive into a little bit deeper of why accountability leads to empowerment. And here's what I want you to consider. What if accountability isn't about perfection, but about honoring who you're becoming? What if it's not a system of pressure, but a practice of, again, your integrity? We've been taught to see accountability as a reaction, something we turn to after we've fallen short. Think about it. We've heard this often in everyday life, and we probably heard this growing up, whether it's in our professional life, personal life, just our common culture. Things like, have you taken accountability for your mistake? They need to be held accountable for what they did. See, accountability becomes kind of this emotional cleanup when we look at it that way, something we associate with guilt, shame, or blame, something that only shows up when something has gone wrong. Does that make sense? Does that resonate? But I want to share a new lens that what if it's actually something else completely different? What if accountability is a way of staying true to yourself, a way of coming home to a version that you're freaking proud of? Because when you hold yourself accountable gently, consistently, honestly, again, even when no one is watching, when you're home alone, you start reinforcing a very different internal message that my word matters, my choices count, and I am someone I can trust. And that's not just discipline, it's real empowerment, right? Like, that's what empowerment feels like, to have that deep, deep self belief, self trust, and agency over your life and how you show up every day. Because what truly builds self confidence, and maybe more importantly, self assurance, isn't achieving something big, in my opinion, but it's showing up again and again and again and again in alignment with what you truly value and you say you value, and what you believe and you say you believe, and what's congruent with your inner truth. It's doing the little thing you said you would do. It's keeping the small promises that no one sees. It's ensuring that your actions and your behaviors align with your true values in every area of your life. It's closing the gap between intention and action, and doing it with compassion, not shame. That's how you build self-trust. That's how you build integrity. That's how you become the person you've already claimed to be, and living by your standards. And you know what? When you live that way with accountability, with integrity, you naturally start to attract people who do the same, people who aren't afraid to own up to their choices, people who live by their standards and not just, talk the talk. Because the more aligned you become, the more life starts to reflect from the inside out. Did any of that resonate with you? Please let me know in the comments below. I really, really value and appreciate every single person that comes to watch and engage with these videos on this channel. Really means a lot. It helps to slowly grow this community and this channel. And just a reminder, this is part 7 of Living by Your Standards series. So if you personally are on this journey of reconnecting with your personal truth, your inner truth, and learning what it means to live in alignment, or you are actively practicing it, I would really recommend going back and watching the earlier episodes, especially the ones on clarity and boundaries. And I'll link to that here in the description below, so you can watch that, or directly after this video, and truly lay the foundation for everything we have explored to now. And if you want something to support you in your own reflection process in this journey, because it's a practice, it's an everyday practice. And so I invite you to download the free self-reflection worksheet that helps you recognize where you might be holding yourself to this pressure instead of your own personal values. It's the standards versus expectations self-reflection worksheet. It's completely free, and I really poured a lot in there. I'll link to it down here so you can grab that. Again, it's completely free. And finally, before you go, I would love to hear your comments on how this resonated with you. And I'll leave you with this one prompt. What is one area of your life where you are ready to hold yourself to your standard, not from guilt, but from your own integrity? Drop that below. I read every single one. And thank you again. It really means a lot that you choose to spend your time with me, whether it's reoccurring and revisiting this channel, or if you are a new listener. Thank you for joining me today, and I hope to see you again next time.